Actually, we've got, and we're going to get into this very, very quickly, that we have some of our Southern California coaches. We have someone from the East Coast. We have someone in the Central Valley, Central part of Chicago, Chicagoland, I guess is the appropriate, if you will. It's this is it. We put this together, the 5 of us, just to bring some people information. So many
Perfect.
businesses are just, trying to figure out what's next and how do I deal with what's now, and how do I deal with my customers, how do I deal with my employees, how do I deal with my, with the PPP, like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And I have come very quickly to hate the term, the new normal. I just disdain that space, because I don't think it's the new normal. I think it's a changing landscape, and we're going to get there. So with that, I'm going to do some introductions. I'm going to let you know that there is, we're on Zoom. There's a chat box. Hopefully you can find it. If you can't, speak up, let me know. I am going to put everybody on mute very shortly. At the same time, this is our first time. Whatever happens, happens, and we're glad you're all here. And if we aren't perfect, we beg your forgiveness, and we do hope to provide you, and I'm sure we'll provide you some interesting things. So with that, I'm Tanya Page, again, area representative. You're not crashing anything. Happy to have everyone here. Everyone's welcome around the world, because Focal Point's around the world, and we can help any business. We are recording, and so don't say something you don't want to be recorded, and we'll all be good. I just want to make sure everyone knows that that's clear. I want you to get the most out of this, and so I would just say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how present do you want to be? If you're at a 10, you're fully engaged, your email is off, your cell is hopefully set aside, you're ready to take notes. If you're at a 1, maybe you're a multitasker, maybe you're making breakfast, lunch, or dinner, letting the dog out, checking email. My invitation is just to set your workspace up to match your intention with that. You're going to hear a lot of really fantastic ideas and people, and these individuals have put a lot into bringing you something significant to the table. So our goal for today is, at the end of this power session, you'll have a list of action items that you can immediately help manage yourself, your team, and your company to the other side of this crisis, and certainly beyond. Because we all hope and assume that this is short term. Did 2008 happen and never ended? It changed the landscape, but it ended. And so the same with this. It's changing our landscape, and it will end. And how do we get beyond it? So we've created this hoping that business leaders like you will be able to move beyond it. Uh-oh. Mikey, do you have us? So without further ado, please have a pen and paper, or if you are more of an online person, do it that way. Go ahead and just be ready to capture thoughts. Here's the team. We have Ken in Southern California, who is just a fantastic opportunity kind of guy. Let's find where can we actually move forward in this space. Kevin, also Southern California. Let's talk about customers. He's a great sales guy. Dave Dillon on the East Coast. let's talk about marketing and how do we, let's not stop. Like that's the biggest mistake we can do. And then Dave Fisher is here in Chicagoland, and he is going to talk about managing your liquidity in crisis. And where do we want to be? We all want to be on the other side and then in Malibu. So please use the chat box, put your Q&A in there. We'll try to take questions after each individual. And if we don't get to your question, we will definitely follow up with you later. And we're gonna all offer, hey, touch base with us. We'd love to spend 20 or 30 minutes with you in the long run and talk about your realities. So, Ken, without further ado, are you unmuted?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yep, I can hear you. So I will, beg everyone's forgiveness again, first time. If I'm not forwarding at the right time, each individual will signal me.
Excellent. Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. My name is Ken Maloof. I am also a FocalPoint coach and based here in Southern California, Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks area. I'm also the president and owner of my company, Game Time Strategies, which is a business coaching company. And I've had, prior to that, I had about 20 years in business management. I had the opportunity to build and lead some great businesses for companies like Nestle, Disney. I was in the toy industry for a number of years and a lot of manufacturing-based businesses and services as well. So as we go into today, I'm really excited to talk with you about something I've been focusing a lot with many of my clients, which is the idea of how do we really find strategic opportunities during COVID-19? How do we turn it on its other side and look at opportunities that could come? And as we get into this, as we turn the slide here, the reality is the world has changed. The world has changed. We all know that. It's a time that has changed in unprecedented ways in a situation we've never seen in our lifetimes and hopefully we'll never see again. However, the result of that, as you may know, is we may feel a little like this guy, right? A little bit boxed in, literally with the stay-at-home order, but also mentally, right? The challenges and the emotions of the current situation. So the question is, well, beyond the risks and challenges that we're all managing, what about the opportunities? So here's a little test. When you read these letters, what are the first words that you see? So take a look here. First words, all right? Now, some of you might see the next slide, which is opportunity is nowhere. And that's understandable. It's probably how many of us have felt in the recent weeks with the situation going on. But some of us might have a different point of view. Some of us may see the next page, which is opportunity is now here. So what's the difference? Well, the difference pretty simply is your mindset. This idea is that we see what we want to see. We see what we are looking for, which brings me to my next slide, which speaks to this idea that, when we look in the midst of a crisis, it's very easy to get lost in the fog, right? We're all spending time in the fog right now, sorting through what's happening. But with every crisis comes opportunity for those who seek it. Sometimes it just requires a different view, right? Sometimes it just requires the ability to see above the fog, above the clouds, and see opportunities. Some of the most successful companies that started in the last 10 years started during the last Great Recession in 2008. So how is it that we can find opportunities in this situation and apply it to our business? And that's really the question. And the question we'll address in this section to say, what are all the potential opportunities for your business during and after COVID-19? Next slide, please. And so this is where we want to use mindstorming, which is a technique we actually use in business coaching with a lot of our clients to help find new, creative, and different ways to determine what those opportunities are and to really help kickstart our strategic thinking. So to do that, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you, as we go through these questions, to be writing down ideas that could come to mind for your business. All right. So the first question is, well, given all of this, how can I uniquely help and serve my customers during this time? There's a lot of unique needs that are coming up with COVID-19, some that are unique and some that are very commonplace. But what are some of those important needs and how can my brand provide them? Needs like connection, the need to connect with others, comfort, security. We all need a security right now. Even small rewards, things that we can celebrate on a daily basis. What about health? Physical, mental, emotional health. What about the essentials and what we consider to be the essentials in our lives? Or the home-based services that we're all dealing and using every day? How can your brand help to bring that? And what new products and services can you bring that align with those needs? I mean, we're seeing it every day, right? Restaurants who are selling groceries, manufacturers of all types who are selling masks, fitness trainers who are doing online workouts who maybe have never done it before. How can you find new revenue streams in your business? And those might be short-term revenue streams during COVID-19, and those might be long-term revenue streams that could be an evolution of your business. And then, of course, what are the online and virtual opportunities that are out there? We all know that online usage is skyrocketing, right? People are using their phones more. They're using the internet more. There are a lot of studies that say that 75% or 3 out of 4 people say that they're using their time on the internet more than they ever have. Okay, so what does that mean for us? Well, there's a lot of things, right? You think about e-commerce. You think about now there are not only online workouts, online doctor visits, education, right? Google Classroom is now something that most families are using on a daily basis with their schools. Daily consumption of news now, it was already going online. Now it's really gone online. And then consider something like Zoom. In December, Zoom had 10 million daily meeting participants, 10. Do you know what that number is right now? 300 million daily participants. That's exponential growth. And that just tells you how fast the curve is moving to online for everyone. Next question is, well, how can I use this time to nurture and grow business development opportunities? The seeds of business development take time, energy, and responsiveness. The irony is many of your clients are like you. They're sitting at home. They're not able to go into their office. Maybe aspects of their job have been put on hold. And they actually may be rethinking the way that they do business and even who they do business with. So determine what your business development strategy is and get to work. Pick up the phone. You might be surprised that someone might answer on the other end, even more than they normally would. And as we think about growing your revenue, Brian Tracy uses a formula called the way to wealth. And we've talked about new products and services. We've talked about new customers, and new customers are kind of the far left of this, which is how many leads do you have and how effective are you at converting those leads into customers? But what about the other ways that you can drive revenue with existing customers? For example, how can you get more dollar sales from each customer that you have? Even a 5% increase in sales from existing customers could be exponential growth for your business. Or how can you increase the frequency of those purchases from the customers that you have today? These are things that in times of searching for revenue can make a dramatic difference if you have strategies to grow sales in these ways. And this kind of speaks to what some of those levers are. We can go to the next slide. So then the question becomes, well, as you're thinking about new customers and new people to partner with, well, what are the businesses and industries that are growing during COVID-19? There are a lot of businesses that actually are growing during COVID-19. The question is, what are they? Think about online retailers. Think about home delivery services, digital and IT services, healthcare, cleaning and disinfectant products, protection products, home entertainment, right? People are watching home entertainment like crazy. Netflix got another 16 million users in the last 6 weeks. Not a bad thing. Social media is off the charts. Video gaming, online trainings like this. People are spending a lot of time. So think about the industries that are growing and how you can align your business with those industries and those businesses, and figure out a way to get in touch with them now as they're growing, because there are definitely businesses growing. One of the questions also is, what about your competitors? Some of your competitors will not make it through this situation. What does that create as an opportunity for you? Or they may just be greatly weakened. Some competitors may be up for sale. The question is, what will your move be as it relates to your competitors? What customers do they have that you can actually better serve, where now could be an opportune time for you to go and bring them into your business? And how can you use this time to strengthen your relationships? Your business would not exist if it wasn't for your clients and your partners. This is the time to be close to them, to show your support for them, to find ways that you can help each other, and to make it through these times, and to lean on them as they will lean on you. I have a client right now who's done this very heavily, and in fact has been a key part of his strategy for surviving through COVID-19, is getting more business and more opportunities with his strongest partners. And then, of course, don't forget about the employees. And someone's going to talk about this more later in the session, but don't forget the stress, the anxiety of your employees and the questions that they're asking about, hey, will I even still have a job at the end of this? And what should I be doing during this time? So think about ways that you can strengthen the loyalty and connection with your team. They are your most valuable resource. Show that to them now, and they will be forever grateful. And then as you think from the marketing side, how can I attract more customers to my brand during this time? I mentioned that social media consumption and entertainment consumption are at some substantial highs right now. A lot of people are spending time doing this on a daily basis. So what can you say through your marketing channels that will make a positive impact on your prospects, your customers, and your network as you continue to define your brand during these times? This is a time to continue to define who you are and what your brand stands for. And then what are some of the new and better systems and processes you can implement? If you aren't as busy necessarily with customers and moving jobs through the queue, well, this could be a great time to optimize the systems, optimize that well-oiled machine that will allow you to be more efficient, more productive, more effective in your business. And then, of course, don't forget to ask the question, how will the game change in your industry after COVID-19? Next slide, please.
I'm trying to get there.
Sorry.
I somehow just lost that.
And the reality,
talking, I'll find
go ahead.
it.
No worries. The reality is your industry, your industry, your business, it will change. The question is, what will be the lasting changes? And what can you anticipate so that you can be the leader of those changes? Be the first to market, be the disruptive innovator, be a leader in your industry of where it's going, not where it is today. And then lastly, think about how can you use this time to plan the vision and the path for your future. This is a great time for strategic planning for your business so that the moment that the recovery comes, you're ready and poised to go. You've got the plans and you're already in the works to initiate and move those forward.
Yeah, and Mikey's gonna tell us exactly how to do that.
Yeah, so important, so important. So really the future starts now. So as you go through these questions, what are the biggest opportunities that you see? And in the words of Walt Disney, the way to get started is to quit talking and to begin doing. And so I wish you the best of luck. I welcome you to contact or call me anytime. I'd love to hear and talk with you about your business. And I'll pass it over to Tanya for the next section.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to figure out where my screen went. We'll just move forward because there's Ken. He's a fantastic business owner, and we're going to move on to Kevin. If you have questions, please drop them into particularly my share, and hopefully I'll figure out where that is in the next 5 minutes or so.
Very good. Thank you, Tanya. And thanks, Ken. That was fantastic insights. And I will probably build on a few of those. And as you heard, there's others who will continue to build as well. But good morning, everybody. I want to quote Brian Tracy. Tanya, if you can go to the next slide. Sales are the engine that drives your business, but customer satisfaction is the fuel for that engine. So next slide, please. So what we'd like to talk about this morning is expectations and reality. Perhaps the worst enemy of any relationship, be it between two friends, husband and wife, parent and child, or certainly between a business and its customer, is unmet expectations. So let's look at expectations and achieving customer satisfaction. Next slide, please.
I have to say that's my favorite slide. I don't know what that little girl is doing, but
she is excited and looking forward. So there are, and you guys probably are aware of this, but there are 4 levels of customer satisfaction, all based on the degree to which you're able to meet their expectations. And the higher that you rise, the more that you will build that customer loyalty and the greater will be your success. And the first level of meeting customer expectations is depicted there in the upper left. Meeting customer expectations is the minimum requirement to simply stay in business and to survive. At this level, your customers have no complaints. They're satisfied for the moment. However, they may not be loyal. In the upper right, you'll see the next level in customer satisfaction. That is exceeding customer expectations. This higher level of customer satisfaction is reached by surprising your customer, going beyond what they expect. This can be achieved either through unique service or simply just something as easy as just being fast and friendly with the service. Or you could also offer a product that is a level above your competition. Either way, the second level of customer satisfaction moves you beyond just surviving, and it builds a measure of customer loyalty and gives you an edge over your competitors. And this service can also increase your profitability because customers are willing to pay for a better experience and satisfaction that exceeds their expectation. Think about times in your own experience where your expectations have been exceeded and how that made you feel. And how did that impact your attitude toward the company? It builds loyalty and you want to continue doing business with them. So if we're, and I'm seeing a green screen right now.
Uh-oh. Are we here?
No, back up, please.
Okay.
There we go. So on the lower left, you'll
Thanks,
see.
Kevin.
Yeah, you betcha. You'll see the next level, which is to delight your customers. Have you ever experienced a level of service that not only exceeded your expectations, but actually brought a smile to your face? A customer served at this level is truly delighted. So not only have their basic needs been met and exceeded, you've touched them most likely on an emotional level. Once they've had that kind of experience with you, your business, your product, a competitor is going to really have a difficult time trying to pry them away from you. When you're at a level where you've delighted your customers, you're well on the way to creating an exceptional and highly profitable business. And then, as you can see, we have even one additional level on the lower right, which is to amaze your customers. This fourth and highest level of customer satisfaction is what will truly propel your business into a level of excellence. This level requires you not only to just meet or exceed your customer expectations, but to truly amaze them. When you're able to accomplish this on a regular basis, you will be in a position to dominate your marketplace and achieve remarkable rates of revenue growth and profitability. And as Ken talked about previously, at where we are today, this may be your unique opportunity to really increase your standing in your competitive market versus where your competitors are. So as you think about your business, how might you get to the level of amazing your customer? Let me give you one quick advice. I'm sorry, Tanya, did you have
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It sounded like somebody was trying to ask a question.
I was going to ask a question, but go ahead.
Yeah. So let me just share with you one personal experience that might kind of get your creative juices flowing a little bit. Several years ago, I was at a restaurant and I was waiting for a cab. So, you know, this is in the good old days prior to Uber and all those kind of services. But as I was waiting outside, I watched probably a half a dozen couples or groups walk out to their car waiting for them already. It was cold outside. Their car was already warm because the heater had been turned on. The car's obviously running and it's ready to go. And I heard person after person they were flabbergasted. How did their car arrive? You all know how a valet service works. You typically have to walk out, hand your ticket, You wait a few minutes, you wait several minutes, and eventually your car shows up. Well, their car was already there. They didn't even have to walk out and provide their ticket. So how did this happen? When the couples or when the group arrived to begin with, the valet lead watched and memorized what car belonged to what driver. Through the course of them dining in the restaurant, he would monitor them as the group or the couple received their check and it became obvious that they were getting ready to leave. He would then get one of his runners and tell him, you know, go get that black Mercedes or go get that white Lincoln, whatever the case was. They would get the car and it would arrive right in front of the door so that when that couple walked out, there it was. And as you can imagine, they've just enjoyed a fantastic meal. They had a great dining experience, and to top it all off, they were simply amazed to find their ride home waiting, warm, and ready to go. So it was a fantastic experience all the way around. And the best part about this, from a business perspective, did not cost a dime. What it did take, though, was a little bit of thought and planning and certainly some effort. And you can bet that the valet team was tipped higher than any other valet team I'm aware of. Instead of ones and twos, I saw 20s and you know, $50 bills being exchanged. So it was a win-win all the way around. But again, this is just one example. There's many examples. I'm sure we all have them where somebody did just that little bit extra, and it really creates a level of customer satisfaction that is separating you from your competition. So a couple of questions. What are your goals, or what are your new goals for customer satisfaction? How will you amaze your customers? And have your goals been communicated throughout your organization? Because in many organizations, several people either do or have the potential to interact with customers and have a very definitive impact. And then as we advance one more slide, you know, kind of echoing what Ken had mentioned earlier, in consideration of COVID-19, how are your customers being impacted? And accordingly, how will your strategies adapt and change for the here and now, as well as post-COVID-19? And then finally, you don't have this slide, but I would suggest, if you haven't done so already, commit to creating and implementing your plan to amaze your customers. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin. And I don't know why I can't find my second screen. I'm so sorry. So we're just going to keep rolling, if you don't mind. And we're going to roll into Dave Dillon.
Well, good afternoon. This is Dave Dillon. I'm in the Washington, D.C. metro area. So good afternoon to those on the East Coast and good morning to the other folks. Thanks for joining. I am really passionate about talking about marketing in a crisis. After leading and managing through businesses through 3 or 4 of these economic uncertainty times, I've seen just how important marketing is, and especially as we set up to come out of it. Now, this particular, these are 2 tip sheets I've put together for clients and prospects that talk about 5 key focus areas for marketing or to leading a business in uncertainty, a short-term version and a long-term version. And the commonality to both of those is the importance of marketing and looking at your marketing strategy. And really, Tanya, if you can go to the next slide, really 4 key questions that I hone in on in there. Are your ideal client, your target market, and your service niche still valid today? And there goes the green screen again. Maybe you could tweak that. And if that happens again, maybe I should shut off my video.
Yeah, no, just tell me.
Okay,
I think it's me.
Okay, cool.
I think it's me. I'm trying to find the second screen. I just can't seem to find it.
Okay, the second question.
I'll do it this.
The second question, and this is a key one, I'm going to focus on this in a couple slides, but how have the needs and desires of your target market changed? And so therefore, is your value proposition still compelling today? And is your message still on point? And especially, is it on tone? And so maybe you can go to the next one, Tanya.
Okay. Wow, on tone. That's an interesting question.
So I want you to think about your target market. And yes, there's a lot of markets, a lot of clients that you could serve and that we all serve, right? But what is your target? What is the target, the customer base that you focus on? Maybe focus your marketing, focus your energy on, and really, the main target that you're trying to market to, sell to, engage with, and build relationships with. And I want you to think about your target market. Get that in your head a minute, and really maybe write it down if you have a piece of paper. But write down that target market you have that you really want to focus on. And then Tanya, go to the next slide, because I think this is a great quote for even now. This is an older quote by Mac Heyman, but it's so important now. The most important thing you need to know about your business is how you add value to your customer. And if I didn't want to mess with the quote, I would add right now, because in some of my slides here, you're going to see right now, because it's just so important to be in touch with what's going on. So you can go ahead. So as you're thinking about how you add value, think about your target market and what are their urgent needs right now, and what are their compelling desires. And so one sort of a shorter term look and one sort of a longer term look. So both are important as we look at your marketing in a crisis situation. So maybe you can go to the next slide, Tanya. And I'd like to have you, on a piece of paper that you have, a sheet of paper that you're taking notes on, just draw 2 columns if you would. And for your target market, think, first column would be, what are their urgent needs right now? And then the second column would be, what are their compelling desires? And the reason I say right now is because those are probably very different than they were back in January, February, beginning of March, because survival mode, right? There are a lot of things going on. And what are their needs and desires right now? And I'd say in terms of how you deliver value to them, the value you deliver to your client base and your target market, a lot of times we think of the financial benefits, but when Ken was talking at the very beginning, he mentioned emotional and physical as well. And so think of those, not only the benefits you provide in your business proposition on the financial side or the dollar and cents side, but also what emotional benefits, physical benefits can you provide to your clients and prospects that they might need now more than ever. And even spiritual benefits in terms of not the religious spiritual, but being part of a bigger movement. And just think of all the companies that are doing so much, for the cause, for the community, donating, etc. How do you be part of something that's even bigger? Okay, you can go ahead. And so I would ask you to step back too and think of those same kind of questions in terms of your team. What are their needs and desires of your team right now? And I would add into this your extended team of suppliers, partners, and others. Not only do we have to work different, but everybody's balancing more in their life. Maybe it's trying to homeschool. Maybe it's just dealing with multiple people in a location. What are their needs and desires, and what can you do differently about that? How do you help people, help your team, help your clients, help your partners, help your prospects? So maybe go ahead, Tanya. And so I really want you to think about 6 keys to connection. And you might want to draw a little 6-box grid. And we're going to think, you can just write in who, what, where, when, why, and how. So the first box is, who is my target client? Who are those people I want to focus on and build a relationship with and really add value to? Number 2 is really where I think a lot of our effort for all of us needs to be going to. What are they looking for right now? What are their needs? What are their desires? What are their challenges? And how can I help? Then where do they look? And this might be different, you know, they might not look across the office at a binder or a filing cabinet now. They might be looking somewhere totally different. So where are they looking for solutions and services and things that they can, you know, find, try to help address their challenges? When do they look for it? And then why should they choose me? And then how I want them to engage with me by thinking through how do they want to engage in their new environment. So be thinking about, you know, what has changed for them, what are their needs and desires, and so how do I address and connect with them effectively now, because it's likely different than it was in January, February, early March. Okay, Tanya? So in summary, think of your target market, identify them, think about that target market, and really think through their urgent needs, their compelling desires, and what's going on for them right now, and how you can help. And then the benefits that they're going to be looking for now might be very different than what your proposition was 90 days ago. So be thinking about what are those benefits, not only financial, but also emotional and physical, and maybe even the bigger picture of spiritual. And how do I really connect with them coming out of this? So I'm set up to move forward in a very positive way, in a way that puts me in good position. Okay. Next one, Tanya.
Thanks, Dave.
So think through these things, think through what you can put into action. And I'd say pick one or two things to start, and to start very quickly and start immediately. And my recommendation would be start with those, finding out the needs and desires of your prospects and clients. And with that, I thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. And we're going to have everybody's contact information in the end. My apologies. I don't know why I can't find your questions or the other aspect of the webinar. I think I'll find it eventually, and we will definitely answer everybody's questions. And in the meantime, we're going to move to Dave Fisher.
Good morning, or at least good morning for those of us in the Midwest.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the Illinois area representative for FocalPoint, so I have the privilege of working with both coaches and clients. And before I joined FocalPoint, I was a banker for quite a while. And so what I thought I would do is...
We'll forgive you, Dave.
Yeah, please, recovering. You know, we've already heard some great presentations on the vision and path of the future, you know, marketing, but underlying all of that is the financial flexibility that a company needs in order to be able to execute on that vision. And so I'm going to touch briefly today on sort of managing your liquidity, which is the lifeblood of a business. And just like any other important facet of your business, liquidity needs to be managed, tracked, and assessed. And we're going to touch on that here shortly. But first, a baseline. There are many ways of defining what liquidity is. I've got one up here, which is, I think, probably the most classic definition. Is simply a measure of a company's ability to cover its immediate and short-term debts and obligations. Think, you know, 90 days. Do you have the means to meet those obligations coming up? Liquidity, as I've already alluded to, is an important component of all business decisions, because if you have liquidity, you can execute your plan. You can continue to grow. You can continue to undertake the actions that you need to in order to manage through this crisis. And if you don't have liquidity, then you are constrained in what you're able to do. And therefore, given how important it is, it's something that needs to be tracked. And we're going to talk about what that means in a moment. Next page, please. So what are the sources of liquidity? Very quickly. Liquidity comes from cash and other assets that can be converted to cash very quickly. And I've listed a few of those. My favorite is actually the government programs, the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program and the like. I refer to this as thin air liquidity. It's liquidity which literally comes out of nowhere. And I highly encourage everyone to investigate if these programs are appropriate for you. They do come with, like any government program, they have pros and cons. But the advantage is you fill out some paperwork and all of a sudden you get some money, which is unbelievable. Next page, please. So managing liquidity, and very simply, it's you want to maximize your sources and you want to minimize your uses where appropriate and when you can. So you need to assess all aspects of your business to determine how and where you can preserve cash, or as I've already talked about for these government programs, you can potentially increase your sources of liquidity. And in order to minimize your uses, you need to do a deep dive into your expense line items to determine what's necessary and what could be reduced, deferred, restructured, postponed, and the like. Obviously, some actions to take would be to work with your landlords, your vendors, your bank, if necessary, to manage your uses. Sorry, we're back one slide, Tanya. The easiest action to take, which I'm sure probably all of you are already doing, is to extend your payables. Unfortunately, many of your clients may be doing the same thing. So from a liquidity perspective, that may be somewhat of a net neutral. And unfortunately, as we've all seen with the unemployment numbers recently, payroll cuts are a huge means by which many clients are taking to reduce their expenses. But in order to most effectively manage your liquidity, you need a plan. And next page. And by a plan, I'm talking about a forecast. Monthly is best, quarterly certainly through the end of the year. And frankly, given the importance of liquidity, this is something that should be an ongoing part of your business process. A forecast doesn't have to be complex, but it should take into consideration the major liquidity variables in your business. So why is it important? Well, if you don't have a plan, the process of creating a plan requires you to review your business and think about the future. And we've already heard a number of the presentations sort of saying, well, what is it that we're going to need to do differently going forward? And, what is that going to cost? Those kinds of things. Forecasts are, by definition, unknowns. You're making assumptions. So write down what your assumptions are and the rationale behind them. And again, it doesn't have to be complex or sophisticated, but it does help you to track exactly what you're thinking and therefore, as well as why. As I've already said, what's important in forecasting is the process you undertake, not the accuracy of the forecast itself. The process requires you to think through your anticipated decisions. If this happens, what is my next step? Can I afford to take that action? And again, it's also important to recognize that nothing is set in stone. You start with what you know today, you review your assumptions periodically, and you update us when necessary. It's also important whenever you do any kind of forecast that you consider a range of potential outcomes. It's not just what you think will happen, but also what reactions are you going to take if business is better or worse than what you anticipate. So I've laid out sort of the three scenarios. The base case, which is sort of, this is your expectation as to what you're expecting. Your base case and my base case may be very different, and that's fine. This is your view of the future, if you will. And again, it's important that you write down your assumptions so that you can track them, you can tweak them, and you can assess them as you move forward. Secondly, it's also important to create what I call a downside case. And you can use the same assumptions that you've used in your base case and just tweak them. So if you think in your base case that sales are going to grow X% starting in June, your downside case might be some combination of, well, sales aren't going to be as strong as I'm anticipating, and they may not happen as quickly as I'm anticipating in my base case. The same could be true or the opposite could be true for expenses, that expenses are higher earlier than what you're anticipating. But it's also important, and this is where in some of my conversations with clients and prospective clients, it's difficult to think through this crisis that maybe things might be a little better than anticipated, but it's certainly from a forecasting process, it's important to consider what happens if there's an upside, i.e. if conditions are better than what you're anticipating. Manufacturing clients in particular that I'm talking to have some kind of sense that maybe there's pent-up demand, and that if their base case is that, again, that sales are going to grow X% starting in June. Well, what happens if sales are actually much better than anticipated in June? What kind of expenses are you going to need to incur in order to support that higher than expected demand? I think we'd all agree that might be a nice problem, but like any problem, it needs to be understood, recognized, assessed, and planned for. The key here is you assess your liquidity profile in each scenario. Do you have enough liquidity? And if not, you need to understand what's driving that, how much is needed, and when might it be needed. Because the longer that you have to address any potential liquidity needs, the better the solution set that you can create. So to recap, it's difficult to effectively manage and preserve liquidity without the right tools. A forecast, no matter how simple, is invaluable. It's something that should be tracked on a regular basis. And as part of that process, you need to evaluate a variety of outcomes. Use that forecast to assess if you have sufficient liquidity. And if not, the more time that you have, the better, as I already said, the better the range of solutions that you can create for yourself. Create an action plan. It's key to managing liquidity and enables you to be proactive in addressing the opportunities that we all anticipate will be developing once we come through this crisis. And then finally, but no less important, is to communicate this plan to your stakeholders, employees, vendors, banks, and other significant partners. Not only can you enhance your relationships with them, but you have to understand they're working through this process as well. And by communicating your plan, hopefully you might be able to get them to communicate their plan to you as well. So with that, I'd say thank you very much for your time. If I can assist anyone in developing a forecast or simply provide a sounding board for this or any other topic, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah,
Hey, Dave, thanks so much. And I do definitely have a slide at the end of this for everybody to contact us. I have everybody who's on the line. We will reach out to you both with the full deck and the full conversation, and an opportunity for you to contact any of us. I am again so sorry that I am a little bit at a loss as to how to see everybody's responses, and we're all learning. And we're gonna wrap up with Mikey, and so he's a rock star because he's in Malibu. How can you not be a rock star? So Mikey, are you here with us?
I am here. I am here. Thank
Mr.
you.
California.
Yeah.
So direct me if you need to. Yeah, I know you're always willing.
Yeah, only a few slides here, so we can't get too lost. Some great presentations. I'll try and add my own flair. And my name is Mikey Pearson, and my background is as an entrepreneur and business owner for over 30 years. I'm also the COO of a software company. I am the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Malibu, and I'm a proud award-winning FocalPoint coach. My coaching and consulting practice is based around teaching leadership and communication, which then makes it so much easier for my clients to learn all of the other necessary skills to run a business successfully and define and achieve their goals. Next slide. I am going to quickly cover the 3 key topics that I'm going over with all of my clients right now, whether they are closed or hoping to reopen, or they've been able to open to some degree. These 3 basic things to consider are key as we all try and find our way through a new and challenging business environment. In the 10 minutes or so I have, I won't be able to get very far into the detail, but the good news is that I will gladly send you this presentation later. So the important thing is to maybe get my contact information if you have questions after I'm done. So let's see if I can give you a couple of nuggets that will guide you in moving forward right now. Next, please. There you go. The first is that you really need to know some basic numbers. No big math is involved at all. As they say, know your numbers, know your business. This starts with projecting your sales. If you're not used to tracking your numbers closely, now is really the time you need to start. And the easiest place to start is by figuring out how much you think you will make in sales, or to say it differently, to make an educated guess. Sometimes it's easiest to project for a month or maybe for a week. Ultimately, for planning purposes, my clients break it down by the month, the week, and sometimes even the day. Now, your projected numbers probably will not be perfect and they won't be that accurate, but we have to start somewhere and then we can adjust as we go. Next, you will need to know your operating costs. That is your rent, insurance, utilities, and all of the costs you incur just to open the doors and make sales. A couple of points here. Now is the time to look at these costs and see what you can cut and what you really need or don't need, or maybe you can renegotiate. Most businesses have expenses they haven't really thought about in too long and can probably lower or even do without. And for the sake of making this simple, I'm including marketing expenses and all other costs except payroll as an operating cost for this presentation. Now that you have guessed your sales, you know your operating costs, it is easy to see how much money is left over. I'll show you a simple graphic. Actually, it's being shown now. So keep it there, Tanya. So the last question you need to answer is, do I have enough left to pay my employees and myself? And can I make a profit? If you've managed to get the PPP loan or any other assistance, or you have money in the bank, you will have much more flexibility. If not, then we'll need to take a closer look at how you can cut costs further or increase sales. So looking at this simple spreadsheet, this is something I did for a restaurant client to help them figure out if they should reopen a few weeks ago to do takeout food. We had built their business to $90,000 a week and made it very profitable. So it is quite a change and a shock from that to seeing if a few employees could have it make any sense at all just to open and do takeout. As you can see, our goal at the time was just to see if they could break even. And this is the kind of tool I use in situations like this to keep a sharp eye on the bottom line and help the business owner make important decisions in uncertain times. During normal times, I use a much more detailed spreadsheet to forecast and track all revenue and expenses. Next slide, please. You are your brand. As marketing has been covered very well earlier, I'm going to spend just a minute talking about your brand. As a business owner, especially of a small business, you are the brand. You create the company culture, you hire and you inspire your employees. Most of you are the face of your business, or minimally, you hire that person. Right now is a unique time in history, and you need to connect with your customers, not just by advertising, but on a deeper level. You need to have a message. You need to dig deep. You need to be positive and honest, and your customers must feel that you are bringing them value, as was mentioned earlier. That does not necessarily mean you need to discount, but they must feel you're a positive part of their consuming. They must feel that they want to spend some of whatever money they have with you and your business. The statistics are overwhelming on how vital loyal customers are to your bottom line. They need to trust and count on you. Pareto's law that 20% of your customers can be 80% of your profits has never been truer. Connecting with your customers on a meaningful level is a much bigger subject, but it is critical now more than ever that you embrace this effectively. Next, please. As I said at the beginning of my talk, I view what I mainly do is teach and inspire real leadership with my clients. In repeated studies on highly successful business owners, attitude makes up 85% of what makes them successful, while knowledge and skill only make up 15% combined. Your ability right now to clearly, honestly, and positively communicate with your employees, your vendors, your bank, and even possibly your competitors will likely be the biggest factor in how your business emerges from the societal and business disaster. Now is the time to make the changes in your business that you've talked about for years. The old rules are not necessarily the new rules. And I will finish with what might be a big challenge for each of you. Reach out to your competition and ask them how they're doing. Introduce yourself if you don't know each other. Have a friendly chat and wish them well. You might be surprised what comes from that, and minimally, knowing your competition is vital. And this is exactly what high-level leaders do. Last slide. Small business is the heart and soul of America. Small business is the largest employer in America with the greatest impact on family and community. This is where I come from and is lodged in my DNA. My mantra for business owners at this time is that out of disaster comes opportunity. And the people that embrace this and act on it will emerge successfully. They may struggle to get there, but they will define how business is done going forward. I'm happy to follow up with any of you and even offer a free call just to go over your challenges and opportunities. No charge, no sell, just my way of giving back and giving value. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mikey. And all of us here are in that same position. I don't know who brought you here. We're glad you're here. Hopefully you have received some nugget that helps you to think, I don't know what to do that with that, but I need to do something. And so, we have, all of us are first initial, last name at FocalPoint Coaching. We've got East Coast, West Coast, Chicagoland, Midwest, just reach out to us. If we aren't the individual for you, we have 150 coaches in North America. We'll get you to the right person, and just ask the questions. And I appreciate that everyone who has lent their time to us today has done that well. I still can't find my other screen. I'd love to have your questions answered. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to do that. So
there's no questions really to the group. There's a lot of thank yous.
Oh, okay. Mikey has them all apparently.
Well, I can't see if somebody has privately messaged you. That's all right. What I can't see.
So 20 to 30-minute consultations. We're all, doesn't connect with any of us. We're all here. And that's what we do. I mean, it's, as Mikey said, and as others said, we're here to help you move through this. We're always here to help you move through whatever you need to do. And at this time, we just want to be thankful. And dang it, Mikey, I should have had you send me back my screen share. But thanks to all. And we want to be on target with time. And last week, one of our teams did this, finished up at 58 minutes past the hour. We're at 59, and certainly we're here. And we wish you the best, and we appreciate your being here with us as well.
And thank you, Tonya, for putting this on. Excellent. Really appreciate it. Lots of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's always lots of fun. That's what Focal Point's all about.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, please touch base with any of us.
All the best.
Take care, everybody.